Turn it out from here.
Yes. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
It's your girl, Tanya on the radio. Whoa, we want to thank you for tuning in. Time to go higher. Tanya, grab a patient along. The time is at 4. It's a new way of living.
Hey guys, good morning.
Tanya, you know what it is.
You know what
We
it
want to
is.
thank you for tuning in.
Hey, come on.
Tell the name of my friend. Cause every week we're going. One, two, three, everybody let's go. Girl, I tell you what the radio.
Yay.
Girl, I tell you what the radio.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Latanya D. Walker, and I am here again for yet another episode of Coffeesations with Latanya radio show, the weekend edition. And today I have a real treat for you. I have, if you've been listening to the show, watching the show, either on iworship96.com, FM.com, or on my personal Facebook pages on the weekend, we have been highlighting some beautiful women in ministry and in the marketplace who are blazing the trails. They are business moguls in their own regard. And here's what I love, because my mantra is live authentic. They are living life authentic and on purpose. And the beauty that I have sitting with me today, sharing the table, is the Tamika Hall. Listen, I say that because Tamika is a business mogul. She is the CEO of I Worship 96 FM. She is a writer. She is an actress. She's a songwriter. She is the end all to be all, but that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about something that she holds near and dear to her heart. But before I talk about it, let me just tell you, Coffeesations is that show where women in ministry in the marketplace come together. We all have our own authentic perspectives about life, about ministry, family, relationships. But I'll tell you this, there's no topic that's off limits. But even as we talk, the central focus is the Bible. We always ended up backing it up by biblical principle. And so today we're going to be talking. Go and grab your coffee. Check this out. Start your watch parties. Do all of that, because this is that conversation. And look, let me just go ahead and introduce her. Tamika, girl, come on to the table.
What it do? Listen. Okay, can I just be really authentic? So like 3 minutes before we jumped on here, I was like, I need to slap some eyelashes on.
Come on.
And listen, why are my eyelashes like stuck together? Let's be authentic, people.
Authentic,
y'all know I didn't grow these.
Purpose.
Y'all know I didn't grow these lashes, but
Come
bless
on,
God.
baby. Come on. So listen. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the world know. Most people know who you are if they're listening to iworship96.com. Listen, it is the best in gospel and Christian music. We are in 60 countries. We're sitting with 5 million listeners. So if you are missing conversations, that's your fault, because there's something out there for you. But
That's
Tamika,
right.
Go ahead and tell the people who you are so we can get this conversation started.
Well, thank you so much for that. And like you said, Tamika Hall here. It's your girl, Tamika Hall. Yeah. God has just been amazing. He's allowed me to take what I'm passionate about, which is talking. When I was a kid, my parents used to be like, you just talk too much. And thank God that he was like, I made her that way because he knew he wanted me to be a mouthpiece for him and go out into the world. So I'm the CEO of I Worship 96 FM Radio. We're in 60 countries, 5 million listeners tune in to listen to us every single year. And God is just blessed in that regard. Also the CEO and chief designer of Tamika Inc. So we work with authors from all around the globe to take their book from concept actually onto the bookshelf. And I'm excited now because in addition to doing film, I've just released my very first product into the marketplace called She's Ready Body Deodorant. Right. So I'm excited to be here.
So listen, we talked on Thursday. So if you guys missed the conversation on Thursday, you missed a treat. We're not going to talk all about that conversation. We are going to hit specifically on her product. She's Ready in a part of this show. But what I want to talk about, Tamika, is as you being a business mogul, you are an author, you are, you have a marketing firm, you're a writer, you do all these things, and then you're a mommy too. Let's talk about, because I saw you the other day, you posted something about burnout. Let's talk about the business of burnout when you are trying to live life on purpose. You're doing what you have been called to do. You're blazing the industry. You're juggling. Talk about burnout and what it does, what it means to put it in, put it all in these bite-sized pieces so that you can manage everything that you're doing.
Burnout is real. Burnout is definitely real. And I'll be honest with you, I do it to myself.
Yeah.
And in this season, because out of everything I talked about, at the end of the day, I'm a servant of the Most High God. And, I love everything that he gifts me to do. But sometimes, I'll be honest, I've come to recognize I experience burnout when I stop communicating with him about what I need to do. And I start moving on my own strength. And I start putting the pressure on me and not allowing him to be my daddy.
Yeah.
Because what he said to me 2 weeks ago, and I had told you this about 2 weeks ago, God said to me, let me take care of you.
Yeah.
And instead of me saying to God, but I don't know how to do that, I said, okay, God, I hear you. And I still continued, with my crazy schedule. I mean, I was pulling 16-hour days and still being a mommy and everything to people that were trying to reach out to me because they needed advice and things like that. And God was like, he had to put me on my back and just be like, girl, lay down somewhere. And so burnout is definitely real. I'm still trying to learn the balancing game. But yeah, it's real. And you really got to listen to your body. And more importantly, you got to listen when God actually is talking to you. You got to listen. Don't just say, yeah, okay, God, I hear you.
Right. Because one thing we hear, that's not the issue. We hear from God. We know when God is telling us to be still and let me be. But we try to do it. And the Bible clearly tells us that it's not by our power or our might, but by his spirit. It's his strength. And when we begin to lean on his strength and his power, then we can go and be business moguls in more than one industry. I said this last week with another co-host on the show, that because we serve God and because he is the almighty God, the great God, the God who does all things well, he has never limited us to not be well in everything. We just have to put it in perspective. We have to make sure that we're strategizing those things and then getting to what he has called us to do. And so now I want to just talk about, because here's the thing, for 20 years, Tamika, you have been in the spotlight. And here's the beauty about this. And here's where I love, how God raises up those who have been in obscurity, because the world may not have heard of Tamika Hall, in the big screen, right? But you were getting Oscars in heaven. Because here's the thing, for 20 years, you have, been in music, you're a thespian, you have been in music, you've written, you've done all these things. But for some of those years, if not all of those years, you had a hidden problem. You had something that messes with our ego, because women, we have an ego, men, we have egos. And so you're walking around and you're pretty on the outside. You're pretty on the outside, but there's something going on. And so you walked around for years, as we talked about it, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a real authentic show, you walked around with body odor. You're looking real pretty now. And so when you're walking, looking like you look in a day, people would say, how did she walk around a stinky girl? Let's talk about what happened to you and how we're getting to where you are now.
Here's the crazy part is, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to sit in this dress because I would have had sweat spots everywhere. And like you said, I oftentimes would be like, God, why did you make me this way? He made me to love being in the spotlight, not in a cocky way, but he made me to love doing that and to disseminate news and different things like that. But and in that position, you have to shake hands. I mean, I was a beauty queen. You got to shake hands. You have to hug people. That's what you have to do as a public figure. People expect that. But I was always very self-conscious because at the onset of puberty, I mean, the body odor just kind of got out of hand. And it wasn't that I wasn't clean. It wasn't that I didn't have good hygiene. I had all of that stuff. I just couldn't get ahead of the odor. It was like, as soon as I would sweat, it would just be ridiculous. And it was crippling. It was embarrassing. When it came to ministry and I was singing on stage, I would sing on stage and then I would disappear.
Right.
I tried hard not to hug people and different things like that. And people thought that I was very standoffish, and it wasn't that at all. I just was very self-conscious. What I knew about me is I knew that God gave me the ability to speak. So I definitely had the gift of gab. I knew if I walked in a room and if I had 2 seconds to speak to somebody, they were going to listen. And I knew that because I asked for something, God was going to give me favor in their eyes. But I was always afraid that when I left the boardroom, I was going to leave a bad impression behind.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was a crippling secret of mine. And clearly God, I guess he felt like he could trust me with it because he knew I would be strong enough to talk about it later.
Come on, and that's what he does. He knows who he's created us to be, and sometimes we don't know that we're as strong as we are because we've gone through these processes. We've had to, and I love to say it this way: God processes us for purpose. He will send us through a place. He will process us. He will strip us from things. He will strip us from people just so that we can get in His face, so that He can begin to talk. And so, had you not been in that place, He wouldn't have been able to share. She's ready. Right. Yeah. And so how, you talk about, so how did the product come to, you talk about you had this body odor, but what made you create it? I know you had it, but what made you create She's Ready deodorant capsules?
She's Ready.
Plug it, girl, plug it.
She's Ready literally was born out of desperation. It got to a place where I remember just praying and saying, okay, God, I guess this is what I'm going to have to deal with. But if this is what I have to deal with, tell me how to deal with it so that I can be confident. So it got to the place, LaTanya, I was showering 5 times a day. I got really obsessive about it. I was showering 5 times a day and washing up in between. I carried my bathroom in my purse. I had my perfume. I had multiple deodorant because I was putting deodorant everywhere to make sure that I did not sweat. I had extra clothing always in my car. I had extra underwear in my purse. I was ready. That's where that comes. I was ready for anything. Right. And it got to a place where because I was doing that, as a woman, we cannot shower. We cannot. Yes. We deplete our body of the natural bacteria that keeps us clean and actually keeps us fresh. And because I'm extra, I have a degree in theater. I have all of the emotions. I happen to say to my doctor one day, I don't understand why I'm having all of these infections because I am not dirty, honey. She's on lock and key. I'm like, I don't understand why I'm having these because I had a period of about 8 months that I had bacterial infections. It was to the point where I was hemorrhaging and we could not understand why that was. And so when I said to her, look, I'm showering 5 times a day, I'm not dirty. And she was like, girl, that's the problem. And so from there, I began saying, okay, Lord, well, if I can't shower to stay in front of it, I refuse to go around and be the stinky kid in the back of the room. And so I started researching everything I could about body odor, natural ways to combat it. Once I realized that there are things that we can put in our body that come from the earth. Thank God, you high five, Jesus, you did that well. I picked up the phone. I started cold calling manufacturers. I was emailing manufacturers and I was saying, listen, we need to put together a blend of these different herbs and different things like that. Can you do that for me? Can you put that in a pill that I can consume? Because I can't eat a whole bunch of pineapple all day. How much pineapple can I eat? Right. Yeah. And so God bless. And I found somebody that was able to manufacture exactly what I needed. And that's how She's Ready came to be. I mean, it is a capsule, LaTanya. I had it put in capsule form for people who can't take pills. So you can break it open. You can put it in your shake. Yeah, you can put it in a shake. And this one little pill, you take one a day and you have fresh. I
was going to ask you, how does it work? Go ahead and tell us how it works.
It will make sure that you have fresh breath. It takes away the body odor under your armpits, in your groin, foot odor. It takes care of that 24 hours a day. One pill and it works. It works.
So is it only for us? Can men use it?
Ladies?
Is it just for ladies? Can men use this product?
Listen, this was made by a woman for women, but it's strong enough for your man too.
Oh.
So it's strong enough for your man too. Yeah, men can use it and they are using it.
Right.
I have men that have reached out. And I've felt very honored that because when you reach out to the company, you're talking directly to me. God told me that, especially right now in this season, I needed to be the person that people spoke to. And I've actually had men that are saying, look, I've been dealing with this issue for 20 years. I've had women that are like, it's been 20 years. And And so, yeah, men are using it. They're being blessed, honey. They're being blessed by it too.
Because I was going to say this, some of us, it is a bad diet.
Yes.
Some of us, I mean, because we can't go and look for a cure to something if we're eating poke bones all day. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we can't go look for a cure if we eat back, because most of the time we don't eat well, and then we look for these quick fixes to get us right. Well, we have to first, it becomes a mind thing. We have to make up in our minds that we want to live right, because we are a representative of Christ, number one, and our body is his temple. So we don't own ourselves. And so when we treat ourselves like we don't want to be here, and we put all these things in here, we are saying to God that we don't love the body that you've given us. So the first thing would be is to make sure that your mind is right and that you want to live a healthier life. That's first thing. And then look for those all natural products, because I'll tell you this, we talked on the show Thursday, I use deodorant and it's zero. It's called 0%, right? And it has no aluminum. But, and the reason why I started wearing it is because we get lymph nodes under our arms. Ladies, gentlemen, when you get those things under your arms, it's because you're putting aluminum in your body. So you have to start thinking about what it is you're doing. Tamika, talk about that and what your product consists of and how natural it is for us, so that, because, and I'll say this really quickly, because I, like you said, God, I want to be able to put foods in my body that I don't have to take a medicine. And so here I am, we're talking about a pill that I have to take, but talk about how natural it is.
So She's Ready is 100% natural. It is completely plant-based. The main ingredient in it is chlorophyll. So we have a proprietary blend that is a chlorophyll concentrate. So chlorophyll is the, I would say, ingredient in plants that gives it that pretty green color. And when we actually take this, it's plant-based, and it goes to the bacteria that causes odor. And so just for a quick science lesson, and because I had to learn why I was thinking. I was like, why do I stink? Like, what? Listen, it is not your fault. If you have good hygiene, you practice good hygiene, if you have body odor, it is not your fault. This is why we have sweat glands literally covering our body.
Yeah.
And so when you sweat, the bacteria that lives on your skin, which sounds really gross, but you can't get rid of it. The bacteria that lives on your skin, it's activated by the acid in your sweat. And so the process of the bacteria, like breaking that down, the bacteria is what is emitting odor. So when you consume this plant-based product, you're getting a boost of, like a healthy nutrient that literally goes to the bacteria in your body that will cause odor. So when it's doing your job and it's having a party in your sweat glands, we don't get to smell the party, right?
Well, because I used to tell my my trainer, like he worked so hard, and I saw a trainer on him. I'm not going to shout him out, but he's a pastor, and he would love a person like me, because I would say I don't sweat, I don't sweat, I glisten, and I don't stink when I sweat. That's what I used to lie and say, right? But talk about that, right? Because you just said it has once you ingest it, it has this party in your body, and it becomes fresh. So now ladies, well, no, I'm not going to say that, because you still need to do what you need to do to stay fresh and clean. You still got to stay fresh and clean. Yes. But I just believe that this is a product, honestly, that we need. And again, not just for women, but for men, because we do suffer from things that are happening, and it comes from the food that we're eating.
Absolutely.
Most of the stuff, you had an issue that didn't have to deal with food. It was just something that you had. But for other people, it is the food that you're eating, and it's causing these things, and you're trying to figure out, how can I make myself clean again, right?
Here's the thing, Tanya, when you eat meat, consuming meat, and listen, I'm not vegan. I eat meat.
I'm pescatarian. Come on.
When you eat meat, especially red meat, it will change. It changes the way that you smell. It really does. Because I'm talking to women. Listen, we're grown here. For those of y'all that are active, it will change the way that you taste. Yeah. Right. What you put in your body, it changes all of that.
Hold on. To the wives that are on here.
To the wives.
To the wives, because this is a church's show. This to the wives that are on here, not to you.
I'm not allowed to have twerk parties right now. I'm not married.
To the wives that are on here, we will not. No, just go ahead.
To the wives, yeah. Listen, like I said, I can't have a twerk party, but when God sends me my husband,
When he send you
twerk
your
ministry is
Isaac,
gonna be
honey. When
on.
he send you Isaac,
But
come on.
yeah, but like legitimately, it changes the way you smell, it changes the way that you taste, and it changes the way you smell everywhere. Because
Yeah,
again, what you put in, it comes out.
it
And
comes
so,
out.
sweat it's almost like a digestive process. It's a cooling agent for our body. It just does so many things for us.
Yeah.
And so, why wouldn't the things that you put inside of your body actually come out? And so, yeah, it's important. And this is plant-based, and the great thing about it is, for those of us who do still eat meat and different things like that, this is a big burst
Yeah.
of an agent that will really kind of overpower and overshadow the odor that would come from what happens when we do eat meat and different things like that.
So listen, let's talk about the response. And before
Yes.
we talk about the response that went to this, I want, because I just heard this, I want to talk about like what it took, the mindset. Because for
Mm-hmm.
you to be this business mogul, you're not just doing, she's ready, you're doing radio, you're doing TV, because you're a film writer, you have all these things. You're a mommy. Let's talk about the mindset and what it takes, the discipline it takes to manage all of these businesses the way that you manage them, and manage them well.
First of all, and I don't even want to sound deep, but I'm going to tell you, the only way I can manage anything well is if I manage my relationship with God.
Yeah.
When that is off, honestly, everything in my life is off. And that's really where, when we talked about it at the beginning, my burnout came from that, because I honestly wasn't making enough time for God. We think it
Yeah.
takes a whole lot of time. It doesn't
Yes.
always take a lot of time, but I at one point was waking up in the morning and I was making sure that I communed with God for a couple of minutes, before I got my day started. I would take my time with him. And when I got too busy, I didn't hear from him. So I didn't know, okay, Tamika, today you need to work on I worship. Because here's the thing, especially when you're balancing multiple things.
Yes. Come on, talk about that.
And you're gifted in multiple ways. And I'm speaking to people that are gifted.
Yeah.
Everything happens in seasons. So,
Yeah.
5 years ago, I was pursuing a career as a gospel artist. That is not my season today.
Right.
So if I'm trying to pursue being an artist today, and God has called me to build a company that's going to impact women and empower women and build the confidence of women all around the world,
Come on.
then I'm operating out of order.
You're
because
out
that
of
is
order.
not what he wants me to do.
Yeah.
So in this season, God said, your concentration has to be on I worship. It is on Tamika Inc. So I'm working with authors, and it's tapping into what I love, which is empowering women.
Right.
When I started trying to empower everybody, I was completely burned out. Burned out. And so, the balance, it sounds deep, but the balance, it really comes from having a vertical relationship first.
Yeah. And
because he tells you what to work on. Yeah.
You're right. And here's the thing, because I heard this in church. It's real simple, because we do think that it is a long drawn out experience. There are times where God will thrust you into spiritual warfare, and you have to spend that time as an intercessor and things like that to hear from God and to do and fight and combat. But then there are those intimate moments that God just want to just walk through the cool of the day with you and just hear from you and speak to you. And I think many times the reason why we can't, because you just said it, we can balance, we can have a whole lot. But I think what happens is when we get to this place where we take him out of the equation, we miss that connection. And I remember one time that guy, and I love to share this, right? A prophetess, a friend of mine, rather, she asked me, she said, LaTanya, do you want to be married? We were in the middle of a conversation, and I went, yep. It took me about three times before I finally said yeah. And I went, yeah. And so when I said that, she said, God says, act like you're married. So when we hung up, I asked God, how do you act like you're married when you're single? And he took me to a very familiar passage in the Bible, Proverbs 3:5. Who would have ever thought that scripture would have talked about it? But as I began to read the scripture, and in my study Bible, it talked about the intimacy that we miss. It talked about when we get to this place that we're so connected with God, and it doesn't take a lot, it just takes relationship, that when we connect spirit to spirit with God, that we together, Holy Spirit and I, you and Holy Spirit, will conceive and give give birth to stuff. And so we miss the voice of God because, come on, we miss the voice of God because we don't want intimate moments. So as for single women, and I'm going to go off and then we'll come back to She's Ready. How do you expect to have a husband if you can't be intimate with God? You surely can't be intimate with him. That's another story. But to your point, it's mindset. You have to make sure that your mind is right and ready, because some of us ask for things. Some of us ask God for things, yet we don't have the capacity. We don't have the bandwidth, and God is not going to give you, if Tamika was trying to do, I Worship, Tamika Inc. What's the film company? I have it written here. She wins. If you're trying to do all that, God will say, you know what? You don't have the capacity to do that. And it's not until you begin to ask God, what is it that you want me to do, that I can do all things well? That you'll give you the grace to do it. Right.
Yeah.
He'll give you the grace to do it.
Yeah. So for example, I do actually work on my companies every day. So, but the strategy is, Tamika, you got to get yourself up earlier in the morning. So I have mogul hours, honey. I might wake up 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. What does that mean? That means I need to take my neck to bed earlier. So I'll wake up. And I work in chunks. So I might, my first 4 hours of the day, it just depends on what I'm supposed to do. The first 4 hours might be spent with programming I Worship. The next 4 hours might be, okay, I need to communicate with people with She's Ready. I need to go to the post office. I need to ship off, orders and different things like that. And then the latter part of the day might be, I have authors that I have to work with, or it might be mixed up somewhere.
Right.
But there is definitely strategy that God gives you. And when you said mindset, you have to know that you're good enough to do what God has assigned for you to do.
That's it right there.
And I'm going to tell you, LaTanya, because this is one thing I say all the time. I am not afraid to be controversial. People always like, God didn't give you the spirit of fear. No, he did not. But he didn't say that you won't ever be afraid. That's not what he said.
Come on.
Yeah, he never said you're not going to be afraid. What he said was that crippling spirit that causes you not to move and to not be productive, that's not from me. But yeah, you're going to be afraid because you're human. You're human. But what he said was, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, like, he gives us everything that we need. So if you have just the pinpoint of faith, God said, look, you give me that, I'm going to show you how big I can be in your life. So when God gives you an assignment, for everybody that's tuned in listening, when God gives you an assignment, I am here to speak to your mindset. If he gave it to you, you are good enough. If he gave it to you, you are worthy to carry that assignment to fruition. It's not that God, because we always say, well,
she didn't set up, y'all. She ready.
Yeah, people always say, well, you're the only one that can do it. That's not true.
Right.
God can get anybody to do it. He wants you to do it. And to me, that's even better. I don't want God to say to me, you're the only person that can do this. No, I would rather for God to say, I have chosen you to do this because you are that mouthpiece. You are radical for me. When I was standing up and singing in front of people and people did not like me because I was radical about God, I would have made a t-shirt that said, my hair praises God. I want you to understand everything praises God when I do it. So you got to be willing to go ahead of the naysayers. You got to be willing to hear people say, oh, there she goes doing it again. Yeah, but this time I'm doing it different.
To that point, I remember when I got ready to, in this last move, because I ain't moving no more unless you tell me one more time. But anyway, when I got ready to move, because my fear was not a failure. My fear was of success, because I had been there. I had a great business. I had these things. I had acquired stuff in ministry. I mean, in business, right? But I had not done that in ministry. And I remember when God started to thrust me out into the marketplace and to do something different that I had never done. I remember God saying these 3 words: do it scared. Do it scared.
That's my favorite thing.
It wasn't fear, but I was afraid that if I did, I might.
Yes.
If I did, I might. And so God said, do it scared. And like you, I went and got me a t-shirt made. Do it scared. That was my mantra and is my mantra. Do it scared. Because when I do it scared, it says, Lord, I don't trust my might. I trust you. I don't know what I'm doing, God. Like Tasha Cobb said, I'm going to walk through the fog in this thing. Because I don't know what you're doing, God. And when we get to that place that we are walking in the fog with God and we are doing it scared, we can whip our hair. We can be business moguls. We can be authors. We we can be inventors, because that's what you have now become. You can add that now to your resume, that I am an inventor of this beautiful product. She's ready. That is, and I love the name, honey, because it says, you know, she's if you look at her now, just the way she stands, she is poised and ready for what is going on, and only God can give her that poise.
That's it.
He knew when you were ready. He knew when she's ready was supposed to launch, because there were times that you probably didn't feel as ready as you thought you were. And I'm not even talking about body odor. I'm talking about, there were times that probably in your life you're like, yeah, not right now. God,
and I wasn't a good steward. I wasn't a good steward over what God gave me. I couldn't do it before. Yeah.
And he knew that for such a time as this, and we use that so much, this like cliche, but God knew for a time as this that Tamika Hall was ready. So let's talk about the response, because I know the response has to be out the air. It has to be crazy.
Well, first of all, you know, when you're talking about walking in the fog and stuff, let's talk about the fact that yesterday God gave me a word for the people. And I actually got on the live, and God said, we are in a time of unprecedented favor. And that's what that is. And so even with this product, the response has been amazing. You know, we've had Latisse Crawford that has endorsed the product, right? I mean, it's just, we have Tiffany Mitchell, who's from the WNBA, who's endorsed the product. It's just been amazing. What has blessed my heart so much, and what will keep me crying all the time, I just think people just love for me to cry because I'm a big baby, it's just the influx of inboxes and DMs that I get, whether it's through Facebook, Instagram, because I'm very open and very, you know, connected with my audience, through the website, of people who are saying, thank you, you gave me my life back. You know, people who are saying, I had said to God, okay, this is just, they said what I said, this is me. And then when I have a woman that will say, I couldn't believe what was happening. Yeah. And I stepped out on faith. Because see, I'm unapologetically a woman of God. And so what I love is I got all these warriors that are taking this product. And so they're coming to me and they're saying, I stepped out on faith. Yeah. And I decided to go a day without wearing deodorant. Yeah. And they're like, there was nothing. And I'm gonna tell you, I did not expect that the reduction of sweat from taking this product would happen. I honestly didn't expect it. I knew it had happened for me because I sweat very bad. I don't have hyperhidrosis, you know, which is like the profuse sweating, but I sweat very badly. But I actually had a young lady, and I'm speaking of her because she gave an amazing testimony. In Japan, right? She's Jamaican, but she lives in Japan. Shipped her the product. She has hyperhidrosis. And when she came to me, she said, Tamika, I've done everything. I even went to the doctor and they told me to do beta blockers. And you actually can see her story right on the website. She said, the doctor said, okay, well, you can do beta blockers. But when she looked at the list of all the side effects, she said, okay, God, this is just me. And she heard about the product and was like, okay, I've tried everything. Right. You know, she spent all this money. I tried everything. Let me go spend $24.99.
I with the issue of blood. I done tried everything but you guys.
I tried that's what she said. She said, God, I've tried. I'm telling you, you got to go watch it. I've tried everything. And when she reached out to me on Instagram, it was in the middle of the night because I think we're like 12 hours behind. It was around midnight for us. And she said, Tamika, I've been keeping a daily log, because I'd reached out to her and said, hey, how's it going? She said, I've been keeping a daily log. And by the 6th day, I couldn't believe that not only did I not smell, she said she had normal sweat. Her sweat was to the point where she used to be able to wring out her clothes at the end of the day. And she was like, I just have normal people sweat now. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes because LaTanya, I remember what that was like to be like, girl, you don't stink today. Like, they're loud. I was like, honey. And I'm going to tell you, even your poo doesn't stink, LaTanya.
Okay.
It really doesn't. When I realized, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I honestly just wanted to have great body odor. And child, one day I was like, honey, there's no smell. There is no smell. So ladies, you don't have to worry about being natural with yourself, and handling natural things, because you literally don't smell. But at the end of the day, the confidence of people, it's so beautiful that people are feeling confident again, LaTanya, and or confident for the first time.
For the first time. Because you know what? That takes away when you walk around all day unsure, it messes with your self-esteem. You could be, because I know some beautiful women in the world with very low self-esteem. It may come from other issues, but when you walk around with BO and, and you try to be the pretty girl and you try to walk in this room, you're right. It messes with everything. Your confidence, your self-esteem. It makes you think that you're not pretty. It makes you think that you're not worthy and all these things. And so I just thank God that he positioned this product for all of us to impart, to partake in, because most people, there are things that we're taking and we say that there are no side effects or whatever, but I just have to believe that God put this thing on earth today for the woman and for the man who's watching, who has dealt with this for years. I and now that we're talking about it, I didn't know that because I've never had this stink, right? But I will say that I knew I had to change my deodorant because what was working or what was said to work that would never see me sweat always made me sweat.
And let me tell you, LaTanya, that's a good point that you're making. When you're dealing with the chemicals that are found in deodorant, we already know every couple of months, it just stops working. You find yourself, you're like, oh my God, guess what? I've been using this because I used it for over a year before I even thought about putting it on the market because I wanted to know if it worked. It's been almost 2 years. It still works.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Honestly, because I believe that's because God gifted it to us. Now, of course, I talk about the fact that I had extreme body odor issues, but this is an internal deodorant. So this is for anybody. I, of course, lead with the blessing that has been in my life because it has changed my life. But if you find yourself where you have to wear deodorant, because it's funny, I get people all the time, they're like, well, I don't have an odor problem. I'm like, well, do you wear deodorant? You wear deodorant because if you don't wear it, you're going to stink. Like you may not clear out a whole room, but if you wear deodorant, this will work for you because it's an internal deodorant. And so some folks may need to take, 3 a day where you just take one with a meal. Other people can take 2 a day and some you just take one a day and it literally just deodorizes you 24/7.
So listen, tell the people where they can find this awesome product because I just have, I know that it's out there for me now. Because
it is for you. I'm going to send you some.
So because I wear now, and I won't name the name, but I wear, a very reputable deodorant that I do have to change, to your point, every 2 months, because after wearing it for so long, your body becomes immune to this stuff. And so it does not work. And you still have these underarm sweat pockets and all this stuff. So, I need to try it for myself, Lord Jesus. So tell me where they can find it.
You can find it by going to she'sready.co. So she'sready.co. And you'll be able to get it. We sold out this week, but my next shipment's going to be here. And I know, right? I was like, oh, Jesus, what? And child, we have parties all the time. God's like, this girl is just too much. But so we sold out, but I have the next batch that's going to be here probably by Tuesday. So place your order right now, friends. Place your order right now. Because as soon as it comes, I'm already getting the labels ready. All the envelopes are ready. So when it comes in, I'm just going to be popping them in there. We're just going to have a pop.
Listen, I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And it's funny because sometimes we'll say that we're proud of people. I don't really, I just met Tamika like the latter part of last year. And it seems as though that's it.
I think we're like best friends.
It seems like it's been a lifetime because every time we get together, there is a strong connection, and we're always vibing on the. We're rhythm and flow. We're right there at the same beat of each other. And so I just have to say, as one of the women that I've highlighted the last 6 weeks, I could not have had that segment without highlighting you because you are doing some fabulous things. I said this the other day, you are pretty awesome, honey. You are just, you're ripping it. And, people need to look at you as an example of being able to manage, because for so long we have been told, and this is just not a woman thing, this is the thing with people, we have been told for so long that we can't do all things, a master of, jack of all trades. But you can be, but you have to do it strategically. You have to do it as God gives you the strength to do it, And so I'm just proud of you in that regard. And I admonish you and just say, continue to rip the runway, continue to rock it, honey, and continue to make his name great. Because you make his name great, he's going to continue to make your name great. Listen, I love you. Do me one favor. I always ask the guests to close out with something, it doesn't have to be super powerful, but it should be coming from you. But give us some last words of encouragement as we get ready to close out this segment.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Honestly, I think what I'm going to leave everybody with is that we are in the midst of unprecedented favor. I'm just going to bring back what God woke me up out of a dream and told me to tell everyone. You're in the middle of unprecedented favor. This is an opportunity for uncommon blessings, and God is ready to rain down on all of us. And because of that, you need to be careful about the people that you connect with. Make sure that you keep make sure that you allow God to reign, REIGN, in your life, because when you do that, you give him the authority, you give him the space to have the authority over your life. So when your miracles and the blessings are collected in the heavenlies and they reign, RAIN, they rain down on you, you'll be prepared for that. But be careful, because people are going to want to connect to you because they see the glory that God has put on your life. My final thing is, you are worthy of everything that God is given to you. You are big enough. Stop thinking that you're too small. Stop thinking that God is not going to speak to you in the midnight hour for you to go and be great. Stop thinking that. It is for you to do it. There is somebody that is waiting for you to do it. And my favorite tagline, you were created to make God famous, so go and make his name famous.
Go and make his name great. Listen, thank you so much, Tamika, for being on the show. I have truly enjoyed it, and I know that our guests have too. You are more than welcome to come back to Coffeesations anytime and share whatever it is you have to share. Listen, I'm not going to let her. I was going to, typically I'll have them to exit and then we're done. But I'm just going to say this to her point, and then we're going to go ahead and disconnect. She said that you have to make sure that you're connected to the right voices. That is something that, and this is how I'm going to end that as in the show. Outside of telling you to catch us on Thursdays on I Worship 96 FM radio, to catch me here on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's that, right? Share this with your friends and family, because I promise you there is someone who needs this product. There's someone who needs what she has. And we have to make sure that, because it's not her that you're blessing. And most of the time we feel like that if I bless her by buying her product, she may rise above me. But if God gave her this gift, then it's a gift back to God when we buy from her. It's our gift back to God when we buy from her. We talk about Black Lives Matter. We talk about buy Black. Here's a Black that we need to buy from. But I'll say this as I close. She mentioned the voices. I said something about this about 2 weeks ago. God said, this is the season that you have to be connected to the true apostolic and prophetic voice in your life, because we are on social media, because we have these voices now that you can hear from around the world. We tend to want to pull and jump from Facebook to Facebook, live to hear who has the word of the Lord. You need to get before God and allow God to tell you when to close your ears to voices that are not in this, and to fine tune your ears to him so that you can hear where he's trying to send you, because many of us are connected to the wrong voices. And in order for you to get to this place where you are living life authentic and on purpose, you have to get before God. So we love you here at Coffeesations. Do me a favor, go and connect with Tamika on all of her social media outlets. There's I Worship 96. There is She's Ready company on .co, but on Instagram, She's Ready Co. Google her, honey. How about that? How about that? Just Google her and then connect with her and let her know, try her product, and then let her know that it worked for you. You can connect with me on all social media platforms at LaTanya D. Walker. Until next week, be bold, be brilliant, be beautiful, be authentically you. It's LaTanya D. Walker. Keep it locked, and I will see you back on Thursday. Bye-bye.